Hello. How are you doing, Mateo?
Hot.
Hot. We kept our house closed up and until this evening we have mini splits now. So till this evening we didn't have to turn them on.
Mm. That's the way to go. Yeah, we're pretty well protected by the woods, so we stay pretty cool inside, but going
Yeah.
out for anything at
Oh
all.
no, I know. Just brutal out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of up and down. We're going away next week, so this is sort of training for us.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hey,
For a second, I thought Elaine was just sitting very still, and then I realized
She's frozen in time.
Very still, contemplative. Oops, let me go. Let someone in the door here. I don't know, Mateo, if you noticed the addition to your road, we got the Harry's Hill sign up this afternoon.
you know what, I saw them putting the concrete in for it the other day, and I was like, what are they putting in there? Is that for like a culvert or is that a street light? And then today I went by and they were putting up the sign, so I walked over. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's nice.
That's great. How does it look, Elaine?
I think it looks great.
Yeah,
There would be part of him that would say that he hates it, but I think he would deep down love having that there. So thank you very much to the highway department for helping us and for you telling the highway department to do it.
Yeah, good. Glad that it got done.
It did, just in time for the Lake Wyola
I
race.
know, I was thinking about
Yeah.
that.
So
When is the
people
road
can-
race?
Sunday.
Oh, wow, amazing timing. Yeah.
Right.
perfect.
Yeah. And Cliff was the first one to ride his bike up past
Oh, thanks, Harry.
the infamous hill.
All right, well, it is 7:01 and we do have a quorum. I don't know if Alan and Henry will be joining us or not, but I think we should get started. So I will call this meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. This meeting of the Shutesbury CPC is being recorded. So tonight's meeting is largely to take care of some procedural things to tidy up after town meeting. As I mentioned in my email, and as many of you know because you were there, all of the CPA grants were approved. So we have 6 new CPA grants going out. And yeah, we got through 11 articles in about 15 to 20 minutes, which felt
Yeah,
good
that was great.
in
You
that
did
meeting.
a great job of putting that flyer together. I
Yeah,
have
that
to
was
say,
really
hand up.
Yeah,
good.
Yes. And also presenting and
Mhm.
being very clear and putting it in appropriate terms. That was great.
Yeah, it was wonderful to have all that information in one place, Mateo.
Yeah.
Really
There does seem to be a the constant question that comes up at town meeting is how much money do we have in these
Yeah.
accounts? So I
Mhm.
figured having it actually sort of laid out, especially because we had all of the grants, that were closing and new grants going out, that it might lead to some confusion about the status of things. So I wanted to just have that
Yeah.
for people,
Mhm.
So because of the approvals at town meeting, we're going to be talking about the grant agreements. The first item on the agenda, though, is to review and vote on the minutes of May 15th. Is there a motion?
I
I'll
make
move
a
we
motion
approve the minutes of May 15th. Beat you to it, Cliff.
and I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
Nope.
I have one just small correction. In item 2, where it says the project must abide by the historical commission standards,
Mhm.
instead of historical commission, it should say Secretary of the Interior.
Secretary of the Interior. Sure.
Any other changes? All right, seeing none, I'll call the roll. Farrell,
I,
Reed. You're muted.
Phone was ringing. Aye.
Wilson,
Aye.
Leo,
Aye.
and Pengallo, aye. All right, the next item on the agenda are the grant agreements. So just as a reminder, these are contracts issued between the town and the organizations or committees that are receiving the funding. This is a sort of best practice recommended by the Community Preservation Coalition to make sure that the terms are clear. I think one of the more important ones that we've discovered, right, is the timeline requirement, just to sort of set out exactly when things need to start and when they should be completed by. But the way we have done this in the past is that we have just sort of procedurally voted on these. They need to be signed by the select board because it's an agreement between the town and the entity that's receiving the funds. So after we vote on these, I'll just forward them to the select board for their signature. I don't know if you guys vote on them or not. I mean, I guess, I don't know what you would be voting on since town meeting issued the. You're muted.
I think in order to sign them, we do have to approve them. So I'm wondering, I mean, if there are 4 of you, I'm wondering if I should be just recusing myself from approving them tonight. I don't know. I don't know what the protocol is. Elaine, maybe having been a select board member, what do you think? Should I approve it here? And-
We've been so loose on this in the past. I don't
Yeah.
remember approving them. We just kind of took them on once the CPC had reviewed them and the town meeting had approved them, because
Right,
it is up to town meeting. It's not up to you.
right,
Select
right.
board.
But we have to sign it's the agreement, right? That town meeting has approved it. We have to sign the grant agreement. But like if I'm on the CPC approving the grant agreement, I don't know. I guess it's okay. I'll just go ahead and vote on the grant agreement, and then when it comes to the select board, I can vote again.
So
I-
do we vote on the grant agreement, or does the select board vote on the grant agreement?
I would prefer not to send anything out for a signature under the sort of the moniker of the CPC if we haven't taken a vote on it as a.
Reviewed it, yeah. I think it should be reviewed and voted on by the CPC, and then
Hmm.
yeah, validated by the select board too.
That is what we've done with
Yeah,
previous years since we've started doing this. And as far as recusing yourself, Rita, I mean, Henry and I voted on the historical commission
yeah,
application.
okay. All right,
Vote
I'm fine with
on-
doing that. I don't think there's really any conflict, so.
So, I would like, just sort of for expediency's sake, to just consider them as a group if there are, because I did send them out to you by email, and they're pretty formulaic.
Mhm.
If there were, when you reviewed them, if you notice anything that was out of place or erroneous, I used the Warren article language for pretty much all the things that were not boilerplate. There were any among them that anybody wanted to call out?
So I
No,
had looking over them in number 3, the under term, work on the project must commence within 1 year from the first day of the fiscal year. So it just caught my attention, and I wish I had gone back to look at the plan to see if it's spelled out in the plan. What happens if a project is not undertaken within a year, and does that mean it becomes null and void, or we need to be in communication with the grantee and just to get an update, or just I was just curious what happens in that circumstance where something doesn't happen for whatever reason.
Yeah, so the that's for the start of work, right? Not for the completion.
Right.
Right.
So however we want to define the start of the work, it might be a planning phase or something. I think the only time this has really come up, well, it hasn't come up, I think, with a grant agreement project yet, but the Old Town Hall work and the North Cove dredging in Lake Wyola were both well past what would have been if there had been some kind of agreement with them, that 1 year start date. I would think that, as we say about all work must be done within 3 years from the commencement date, unless extended by the town. I would think that before we like pull the rug out from somebody's project, just as we did this year with the ones that seemed to be done, we would reach out with them. There would be a conversation about, is there a plan at least for starting this on time? There are other parts of the grant agreement that we have not been particularly forceful about, like the signage thing. We haven't come down on people about that either. And I think that the language about those things, that is in here so that if we needed to, we would have the option to do it. But from my perspective, I would rather give the grantee more time, unless they said like, this isn't going to happen, we can't do this. Obviously, if they're starting to push it, if it's like 4 years out and things haven't started rolling, then I think the fair thing to do is go back to town meeting and say, like, what does the town want to do about this?
And
Yeah.
things do come up that, I mean, for instance, with the community garden, I mean, we just haven't been able to start that project. And, if it's within a year, you say, well, where is it? And people keep coming back and saying, okay, there's a reasonable delay. And I guess that's what we're all talking about, is a reasonable delay is fine, but a project that never got off the ground and is never going to get off the ground is one that we would question.
Yeah. And I would note in section 8 under grant termination, it does say that this is all as determined by the CPC, the committee may at its sole discretion, right? So that kind of gives us the authority to bring this up to town meeting, or also there's a section here that allows us to go to the select board if there's an issue, but it's at our discretion if we want to enforce one of those conditions.
Matea, one thing we could do is maybe just before town meeting, send something out to all the grantees from this year, because we'll probably be giving an update, and just say, we're 9 months in, 10 months in. Can you just give us a status? Is this still going forward? Have you made any progress? And that will kind of give us some indication, like, have they done anything in that year? Or is nothing going to happen?
Yeah. It occurs to me now that you say that that might be good information to try to gather for the report, for the annual town report, to
Right.
include a sentence or two in there about each of the sort of open ongoing projects.
Yeah.
So that is documented in there. I don't know that we need to necessarily bring it up at town meeting, but then if there are questions at town meeting, we can say it's in the report, and this is where the status of things for those projects.
No, the grant agreements, it's great to get that on a kind of regular schedule and get those done. So thanks for putting those together.
And we are also now this year including it in the community preservation plan. So hopefully anybody that is filling out an application will know in advance what it is that we are asking of them. So going forward, we can maybe begin to feel a little bit more comfortable with some of these provisions that we've been willing to let slide in the past. kind of,
Yeah.
sort of segue into enforcing them a bit more.
Are any of these things required by the state, like the signage? Do they? No, it's all up to the town, what the town kind of wants to enforce and or use.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, most of this is
Good.
pretty much I think that the development of the contract began before I joined the committee, so I think maybe Rita and Elaine know a bit more about it. I think my understanding is that a lot of it is drawn from the Community Preservation Coalition and from what other towns do in terms of best practices. I think the only thing that is really sort of legally mandated is that Section 7 compliance with laws part, and that's not part of the CPA. I think that's just a general sort of legal requirement of compliance. But I don't know for certain. I don't think that the CPA requires any of these things about signage or time limits or anything. It's pretty.
It doesn't.
No.
Yeah, it's just sort of what best practice
Yep.
is. It's not statutory.
Mhm. Okay.
Which is a great thing to keep in mind too, right? Like, I think, Beth brings up a good point. If we find in a couple of years that these things aren't working for Shutesbury, we don't need to keep these in here. This is something we can sort of revisit and change.
But it's helped us quite a bit to keep these projects in line and know that they're going forward and which ones we're actually spending our money on and not spending our money on.
Right.
So it's worked
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make a motion that we approve all of the 7 grant agreements and that were passed at town meeting on May 31st.
6.
All
6.
6? I thought there were 7. 1, 2,
There were
3.
7 attachments, but
6.
one,
Oh, sorry, 6, sorry,
That's
yeah.
6.
Is there a second?
second.
Any additional discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Farrell,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Wilson,
Aye.
Leo,
Aye.
and Gallo, aye. All right. Thank you all very much for that. The next item on our agenda is the FY26 calendar. So all of the committee members have stated that they would like to be reappointed again this year, which is fantastic. Thank you very much. It's great to have continuity on the committee. The calendar that I sent out to you as a suggested calendar is essentially following the same template as this year's. Obviously, this year things changed a little bit with the moving of town meeting. But I just sort of tried to adjust the dates so they're largely basically following the same pattern. For the public hearing in September, I plan on putting the ad in the Recorder instead of the Gazette, because both of them are papers of record in Shutesbury. And as I've discovered as land use clerk, the Recorder is a heck of a lot cheaper than the Gazette.
Nice.
So we'll put the ad in that and save some money. Are there any comments or questions on this?
Do we have any idea if town meeting is going to be changed permanently to the end of May?
We do not.
Okay.
I doubt it, but no.
Okay. Stay tuned. Huh?
I mean, obviously, if it changes, we'll just call an audible for the end of the schedule. I think that keeping the determinations of eligibility and the grant application deadlines, which are really the most important things, sort of steady and clear is probably the best thing we can do. We know we're going to be getting at least one grant application for the Lake Wyola Dam project, hopefully, this year, and possibly some others. But yeah.
Okay.
Any other thoughts about the schedule?
No.
Okay. I don't know that we need to really vote on this. I think it's just, do we need to vote on it? I don't think we need to vote on it.
You have it written there, review and vote.
Review and vote. Okay. All right.
You're
There you go.
right.
Is
There.
that
Let's vote.
This is my fault. Sloppy agenda writing. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the suggested FY26 calendar.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll put it to a vote. Farrell,
I,
Reed,
Aye.
Wilson,
Aye.
Leo,
Aye.
Pangallo, aye. All right. The next item on the agenda is the update on community housing initiative. So as a reminder, Barbara Carulli in Leverett have reached out about potentially partnering, Shutesbury and Leverett partnering to hire a affordable housing coordinator through FERCog and using CPA funding. And so where that stands right now is it's in the select board's court. I presented the idea to them. Gosh, when was that? Early May.
who can remember?
Yeah. It was several weeks ago, because I don't think that it's really within the jurisdiction of the CPC itself to decide how to use the CPA money. That those decisions, we need to be getting applications from outside entities and presenting our views on them to the town meeting. That's kind of our remit. So the idea is that the select board can make the decision about whether or not the town would like to pursue this or gather more information about it or whatever. And so it's in their court. And there was some talk at the select board meeting about potentially holding a sort of a public listening session of some kind in June at some point. I don't know, Rita, if you had any other.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen this month. I would say, if we're gonna do anything, it would probably be in September. I just, yeah, given everything else that's going on, it would be, yeah, my expectation is that if we, had some sort of a session in early September, an application could be easily put together before, any of our deadlines for December, and then the final application, whenever that is, February. I don't remember the exact dates, but what I'd like to see is if there were a few people in town who were interested in working on it, rather than the select board having to write the application.
Yeah.
For the housing coordinator. So maybe out of a meeting, we could get 2 or 3 people who are willing to kind of honcho it. And I think what we talked about that night is perhaps bringing in somebody from Mass Housing Partnership, where I used to work, to talk about, what other communities have done with regard to, housing coordinators and forming housing trusts, that sort of thing. So what that person might do, particularly in rural communities, which it's really tough to, the affordable housing opportunities are kind of few and far between. So you just want to make sure that, if you're going to go ahead and hire somebody, what exactly, what are they going to be doing? So I think in order to put that together, we need some lead time, and we need a few other things off our plate.
Yeah, one of the things that came up at that select board meeting was the idea of having a subcommittee or task force of some kind take charge of the grant application, the research, that kind of thing, so that it's not, necessarily entirely coming just from the select board.
Yeah. So I will follow up after I'm back from my vacation, and see if I can get a time to have somebody come from, or probably it'd be a Zoom thing in September, and
Okay.
invite the public. And we could do it with Leverett, so that we would have a joint, kind of a joint session. So, and Barbara's the contact person.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
What's
She's
her
the
last name?
Carulli,
Carulli, Carrulli.
Carulli. Yeah. She's related to Henry, actually.
Yeah.
It's all one family.
Sister-in-law, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, she's the chair of the Affordable Housing Trust in committee in Leverett. I think she might be on the CPC there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there was some discussion about, if somebody were hired at FERCog in that position, other towns that they might partner with, and we wouldn't want them spread too thin. So ideally, 2 towns or 3 towns, depending on what the cost would be. And the other thing for us to keep in mind is, how much of our community housing CPA funds are we willing to, as a town, commit to something like this?
Right.
Habitat for Humanity recently inquired about a parcel in town, right? So there may be other things going on that would merit spending that funding.
Great.
Okay, so I have my homework.
You don't have enough to do, Rita. That's the problem.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other comments or thoughts on this?
Good.
All right. Thanks, Rita.
Okay,
Item 6 on the agenda, unanticipated business. Any unanticipated business from members of the committee?
Nope.
Nope.
No?
All right. Well, seeing none, we'll proceed to item 7. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Farrell,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Wilson,
Aye.
Vallejo,
Aye.
and Gallo, aye. Thank you all very much. Have a great night. Stay cool.
Thanks a lot.
You too.
Night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.